Let's say for the person who needs more than that, we're going to show that to you in a second. That's going to be more of the unload. We're going to do what's called a gutter unload. So now you've seen the regular unload, you've seen a buckle unload, and now you're going to see a gutter unload. So they're all unloading. They just have slightly different pieces to them. So this person has now fallen on their wrist. You're in question whether there's a fracture or maybe there's just a sprain. You need to either stabilize this and get them transferred to the emergency room for x-rays, or if you know you've ruled out a fracture, they're just going home to get a cock-up splint and they're going to be icing. So you need to stabilize that before they leave your presence, right? So if you have a SAM splint, does everyone know what a SAM splint is? Okay, so it's this sort of, I think we might have one. We might have to pull it out to show everybody. It's kind of just like a long, flexible, how would we describe that? Board, a flexible, you sort of unroll it, and it's going to lay under them to stabilize them. And then you would tape them to the board. Think like spine board, right? But on a much smaller level. And then like for the finger, it's like a popsicle, right? You want to grab like a popsicle stick. You need something to stabilize them to send them home to get an x-ray or to the emergency room. So if you don't have a SAM splint, what you do is just try to get them into as neutral as they can, and you need to start taping them. So I'm gonna kind of anchor to her, and then I pinch this. Do you see what I'm doing on the video? Okay, because this web space is usually smaller than the actual tape width. So let's do it again. I pinch it together to sort of fold over itself, okay? And then from here, I'm gonna start, if I'm happy with that, I'm just gonna start very similar to the ankle, going up as high as you think you need to. Coban does not rip well at all. So this is one where we do use scissors, but what it will do is it will stick to itself. So you don't generally need to put an extra piece on here. So now we've stabilized the wrist as best we can, and we send them off like that. That's if you don't have a cock-up splint to put them in, and you don't have a SAM splint to stabilize them too, okay? If I had a SAM splint, I would be stabilizing her to the SAM splint and taping around the splint and sending her to the emergency room, okay? I try to keep at least one SAM splint in my kit at all times. And I tend to have sort of a mid-range size so that it can cover a leg or a forearm, because I don't care if it's even bigger than this as long as it's stabilized. I could also choose to stabilize locally here, and then the SAM splint, I could take an ACE wrap. That's right, so now we're dealing with compression, trying to deal with swelling, and then I could ACE wrap her to the SAM splint. Does that make sense? Let me just see. I know I'm pretty